Good morning. It is 60 degrees and sunny in Costa Mesa, California this morning. Welcome, sequestered mystics. Ooh, that's my table of knowledge there. To our reading of My Life with the Spirits. Hope you're settled in and cozy. I hope you're staying in. Someone is just writing me, "Hello, Marguerite. I hope you're seeing me now." A couple other people are saying that they can. So, anyway, I think we're rolling. So, we're on chapter 21. It's an Enochian chapter, and it's about the spirit Akimbaku. Now, you Enochian aficionados might say, well, Akimbaku isn't spelled Akimbaku. Well, it is and it isn't. If you're familiar with Enochian magic, you know that there are several ways that Dean Kelly spelled the various names off the elemental tablets. And today we're going to be talking about Ahimbaku or Himliku, however which spelling you're going to be using, is this senior right here. It's a Mercury senior of the Earth tablet, and that may be important to you as we read this today. So it's a relatively short chapter, so you can get on with your day. Enochian spirits, Akimbaku. The Enochian Studies class continued twice weekly for nearly 3 years. During that time, David was the primary scryer, but each of us regularly took our turn at the wheel. We systematically worked our way through the spirits of the elemental tablets, starting with the seniors, then the cherubs, then the servitors. Now, the footnotes say there's 6 seniors per tablet. If you count the elemental king in the center, there's 7 for solar. 4 primary cherubs per tablet, 1 governing each subangle. 16 primary servers per tablet, 4 per subangle, under the rulership of the primary cherub. Before our first session with Akimbaku, earlier in our work with the planetary seniors, a most extraordinary session took place. Our subject that evening was Akimbaku, Mercury senior of the elemental tablet of Earth. He was only the 4th senior we had called forth, and his appearance was a shocking departure from those of previous visions. Before our first session with Akimbaku, each senior appeared attractively humanoid or even superhuman. Akimbaku immediately emerged in David's vision as a monstrous variation of a great ape. His actions were violent and senseless. "What's this thing doing?" I asked. To this day, I can still hear David's deep, dramatic voice. "He's squatting down on the ground and throwing mud in his crotch." All attempts to communicate with Akimbaku were answered by similar obscene and inscrutable gestures. This was hardly the androgynous visage, refined behavior, and eloquent conversation we expected from a spirit of Mercury. Over and over again, I asked the standard set of questions that we developed when working with other seniors. What is the nature of your being? What are your duties in nature? How do you manifest in the human heart, the human emotions, the human desires? Have you ever possessed a figure in human history? Have your qualities ever been described as a character in literature that we might recognize? Now, Akimbaku ignored every one of these questions, but I've got a footnote on this idea about a spirit uh, uh, being described in the character of a literary character. And here's the footnote. I realize these questions may seem strange and somewhat trivial. We learned early on in our Enochian work that we learn nothing from a spirit unless we understand how it executes its specific duties in nature and ourselves. It should be obvious that historic or literary characters are expressions of spirits. When the Venus senior of an elemental tablet of air tells you is possessed, that she has possessed Isadora Duncan, you immediately understand 1,000 collateral things about the spirit. I do recall that Akimbaku told us its sacred animal was an armadillo. Eventually, now we're back in the text, eventually his behavior locked in a curious, repetitious loop. David described a line of white rocks about the size of footballs laying on the ground in front of the spirit. Akimbaku would then pick up one rock with his right hand and another rock in his left hand and replace one with the other on the ground. He then did the same thing, replacing rocks to their original places. This happened over and over again until we gave up, banished the temple, and called it a night. It was the first time in a session ended in such disappointment. Poor David worried that he might be losing his seership skills, the same way he lost his ability to speak Enochian. After the lights came up and the tea was poured, we debriefed like we did every session. David made a quick sketch of Akimbaku, and we passed it around and joked about his muddy crotch. I asked David to draw the rocks. What's there to draw? He said. They're rocks. He hurriedly drew 7 rough circles in a vertical line. Then he drew a double-headed arrow pointing to and from the second and fourth rocks from the top. We scratched our head and concluded there was no cosmic significance to the drawing or our evening's labor. I removed the elemental tablet from the table and tried to locate Akimbaku's name written in Enochian on the bottom left vertical arm of the great cross that separates the tablet into 4 sections. I couldn't find it. I sat the tablet down and looked more closely. I lettered all my tablets using Enochian characters that are rather hard to read, especially after a long night. Then the proverbial light bulb went off over my head. 7 rocks, 7 letters in Akimbaku's name. I looked at the drawing of David's rocks and labeled them ACMBICU. Then I looked at my tablet of Earth, ABMCICU. The coloring on the sides of C and B pyramids was exactly alike. So when I glued them to the tablet, I must have carelessly reversed their position and did not discover the mistake until now. Look at this. I called David and the others over to see my discovery. No wonder Akimbaku was so screwed up. We weren't talking to Akimbaku, we were talking to his perverted cousin, Abmimkiku, who was kind enough to show us what we were doing wrong. So that's the end of that chapter. There's a footnote. Shortly after the first Akimbaku session, a friend was kind enough to give me a set of microfilm enlargements of Dee and Kelly's reformed tablets. In these later versions of the tablets are numerous changes in lettering and squares. The reformed versions of the Mercury Senior of Earth is spelled Ahimliku. So that's the end of our session for today. The Enochian Senior who throws mud in his crotch. So hope you have a good day. I hope you stay in. I hope you stay safe. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.